Hi.
Sarah Kassin.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good.
So good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Thanks for setting this up.
Of course. And look what I have right here.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I guess we'll wait one more minute maybe?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. I love your library back there.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So nice.
We love books.
Me too. We have a whole library of our own here.
Oh yeah?
So,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Are you a night person or a morning person?
A night or morning?
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm really both. Like, I love the morning though. I
Yeah.
really do.
We
How
do
about
too.
you?
We do too. We're just like saying like 8 o'clock. It seems so late for us.
Right, I know that's true. Next,
We
next live we'll do an early one.
This is good though. This will wake us up. We both have like our pajama pants on already.
With the live Instagram, you don't know. Just
Yeah,
come.
true,
Like
for
same
sure.
like Zoom, you know?
It's the beauty. Yeah,
That's great. Okay, I guess we could start, right?
sounds good.
Awesome. So I guess I could start by introducing myself.
Okay.
Hi guys, for all those on there, I'm Sarah Kassin of Sarah Kassin Nutrition, and I started my own private practice where I offer one-on-one sessions to help educate and help guide clients to healthier, happier lives and healthier, happier lifestyles, um, both mentally and physically. And it's not just all about food, it's about movement and sleep and water intake and getting sunlight and things like that. So I help many people around the board, of all ages, from weight loss, weight gain, digestive issues, mothers about child nutrition, expecting mothers for pregnancy nutrition, breastfeeding mothers. I just think it's important. There's so many different life stages, and at each life stage, or with people, certain challenges people face, it's so important to get nutrition and health in order to live that healthy, happy, meaningful life. Because it's all about the meaning in life, and it's all about living a long, happy, healthy, meaningful life. But to do so, you want to make sure to take care of what's going inside your body and take care of your mental health and all that. So that's a little bit about me. I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves as well, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. No, I think it's so well said. What you said is that, let's. What's it all about? Living a meaningful life, and how do we do that? We if when we're our best selves, that's when we can do that. And how do we
Exactly.
become our best selves? It's all about like connection and what the foods that we put in our body, and like you said, just overall wellness. So we're on board. I love your intro. A
Thank
little
you.
bit about us. So we're Haley and Torek, and we are all about kids wellness. Between the both of us, we have 6 kids, ranging from 10 months old all the way up to 16. I
That's
think Jude's
beautiful.
on. Hey, Jude. And the girls, Ken's and Talia. Hey, guys. Um, and what we saw is that regardless of the age, children are smart enough to understand the value of nutrition. And so together we wrote a children's book teaching kids about superhero foods and finding ways to motivate them and understand the real power of food. Because ultimately food is the ultimate medicine. You want to add anything, babe?
Our main objective is to reach the kid before it's too late. Why do we wait till we're 30 or 40 to start on a ketogenic diet or to know what ketosis is? And we believe kids can understand these important nutritional concepts earlier on. And it's amazing how quick it will stick if it's presented in a way that is meaningful and impactful.
That's so true. Wow. Thank you. And just one addition to your intro, actually, if I may, they actually wrote a children's book called My Superhero Foods, and it is exactly what you said, Tarek, because you wrote as if it could be for any age, but I loved that it's in a way where you're talking to them as if they're adults. And yes, and we spoke about this, Haley, on the phone, where if you talk to them as if they're adults, they understand, you don't always have to sugarcoat it and things like that. So of course you can make it exciting, but it's so important to start them young and start from when they're young as preventative, instead of when they're an older adult and something happened or they got through a challenge and then you do something about it. No, start when they're young and teach them from then how to be excited and be happy, and like get excited to eat healthy and make it fun in the process.
Yeah, yeah. And we saw it firsthand. We saw it firsthand with the kids. Like we kind of tried this approach, and it just, they're like, they wake up and, not every day, but it's like, man, I'm going to go outside and play today. I need to eat, my avocado so I can jump really high, or, it's just it's so cool to watch.
It's so amazing. Wow.
I also like to clear up, the idea sprung from Haley. She's always been about nutrition and how it impacts children, particularly her children. And we saw real visible results. And then it's like Haley said, well, let's write it down. Let's put it into a book. And she gets all the credit for that, for the idea. So she's
I couldn't do it. I couldn't have done it without him.
It's so amazing. That
like
really is good teamwork.
Oh, and I like to add one other thing. It's like, when I was younger, my parents didn't have to say, do you want to go to McDonald's?
Right.
I would request to go to McDonald's because they were so effective at marketing to kids. So the idea is, why can't we market to kids in a effective way in which they understand, hey, Dad, hey, Mom, can you buy me an avocado? I'd like to jump higher. Or, hey, I'd like to run faster, so can we get some grass-fed meat? I know that sounds maybe a bit uppity, but once they understand what it is, it's not uppity. It's asking for your natural right. It's what we deserve to have, not what is uppity or high class. That's another problem that we kind of run into, but that's something we hope to dispel, that either you pay up front and get good quality food, or pay in the back end with doctor's visits. Again, as a doctor, I see it all the time.
Right. Oh, yeah. Could you give a little bit, could you tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Oh, I'm a urologist, so of all the type of doctors, I do a lot of men's health, and I do all, just kidney stones and, genitourinary issues. So it'd be like the kidneys and so forth. But with Haley and I, it's a passion, especially through men's health, with regards to how important nutrition is, not just for wellness, but also for performance and many other, I don't know how family friendly or whatnot this level is, but for many other aspects in men's health as we age, it's absolutely critical to eat appropriately, move appropriately, sleep appropriately, live purposefully. I have these discussions with my patients as a wellness package. And then if it comes to needing some testosterone or needing some type of medical adjunct, where I'm more than happy to add that on. But there's always this discussion. It's one piece of a very large puzzle that we all need to get together. And again, if we can get it at an earlier age, maybe they won't need to see me.
Yeah. I love that. And I also want to actually add on to what you said about the marketing, because I love how you brought that up about it's so important to market children, how it could do good for them and how it could help them achieve and focus and, and jump high. And I love that, because there's such a faulty nowadays with, let's say, the supermarket industry with the marketing of, for example, sugary cereals going on low shelves so with their kids' height and things like that. And it's so important that you guys are starting it in your home, marketing to your children that healthy eating could be fun, and putting the superheroes on the healthy foods, not just on the Fruity Pebbles and the junk food. So I love that, because it's such a shame that the marketing for healthy foods can't be like that in supermarkets. And hopefully in the future they will be, because I think healthy food's on the rise in certain stores now. But if that could just be marketed, as you guys said, with superheroes and showing kids that these foods could give you those energies and those powers, then that would be so amazing. It makes it so much more fun, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well said.
Excuse me. We also talk a lot about the idea that these foods, that if they can understand and actually direct, even as the parent and the kid learns together, it could also increase hopefully some family kid interaction, more discussion, hopefully trips to the supermarket and these types of things. So it's starting with the kid may end up being, he could be the kid, she could be the reason for the whole family changing as a project. It's quite remarkable. We see it every day. I see it within our situation.
Yeah.
That's so true. So true. And get them involved.
Sure.
And the next thing I wanted to talk about is a health. We start our day with breakfast, so we might as well start our discussion with breakfast. So a healthy breakfast is what's really going to fuel the child for the day. That's going to be their first fuel, and it's the most important because that's how they're starting their day. They wake up, they're about to go to school, but what are they going to put into their bodies? And it's so easy for a mother to just pour cereal into a bowl and pour some milk and, okay, call it a day, go, you're good. Or breakfast bar and just throw it on the go. But if you really take the time to think about what breakfast could do and think of the opportunity that's at hand at that time for the mother, it's such a big deal, because I'll give it from my perspective as a dietitian's point of view, then I'll pass it on to you guys. But you always want to provide your child with a breakfast that consists of protein and healthy fats, and of course fruits and vegetables, that will help them keep their energy up, and it'll be lasting energy. Because what does it mean, lasting energy? I mean by that, as when you give a high carb breakfast and a low protein breakfast, so for example, let's say cereal, and some kids don't even like it with milk, so you're really not getting any protein, just the cereal, just the carbohydrate, and you're giving them just the carbohydrate, a high carb breakfast, what's going to happen? Their blood sugar is going to spike, first of all, but their energy is also going to spike, and then it's just going to decline. So they're going to get quick energy, but it's not going to last. It's just going to go right down. So by the time they get to school and start having to focus, that focus isn't even going to be there. They're going to be struggling to focus because there's no substance in there. There's no protein. There's no essential fatty acids that's going to help stabilize their energy levels and give them that focus to pay attention in class or to perform on a test and so on. But when you have that protein and healthy fats with the breakfast, it really does give them that lasting energy. And that'll help maintain their energy throughout their day until snack or lunchtime. So I know, Haley, you had a experience as a mom. I loved when we spoke and you said that you actually see the difference. So I want you to build upon that as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we see it firsthand. So it's a non-negotiable. When they're at school, it's healthy fats and proteins. And we can walk through how to build that healthy breakfast for all that you said. I mean, when you fill their bodies with good fat, with protein, you're giving them that sustained energy throughout the day. Unlike if you're giving them a high sugary meal, you see that spike in insulin and then that immediate crash. And we can even talk about how that in and of itself leads to further cravings of more sugary foods throughout the day. So you're really just setting them up not to be their best selves. So like I said, on school days, it's a non-negotiable. I want them to be the best selves at school. So it's eggs as much as we can. And I understand eating eggs every day is boring, but there's fun ways to spice up eggs, and you can throw just nuts and yogurt and sausage and we've been trying this banana pancake. It's 2 eggs to 1 banana. We'll maybe throw in
almond
powder.
My husband and I made that yesterday, actually.
I mean, they're amazing. They're so good, but they're getting that healthy fat, and like you said, it's providing that sustained energy, increased focus at school. Now on the weekends, it's fun to eat pancakes or, something sugary for breakfast. And so there's this local farmers market that we'll go to often. And there's days where they don't get in that something like a fat or a protein first. And they start off, with something sugary like a chocolate croissant. And it's just night and day difference. They're bouncing off the walls, they're crazy kids. And then they just crash. And then a couple hours later, they're craving something else sugary. So, I mean, it's just textbook. So now the rule is we're not gonna, I think it's fun to have experiences like that. Go to the farmer's market, sit outside on the grass, eat your chocolate croissant together as a family. But before we do that, we're just, okay, we need to, and we frame it like this. We need to get in our healthy fat. We need to get in our protein, so that it makes it really clear and they understand the science behind it. Sugar on an empty stomach is going to make me feel crazy, but a little bit of sugar on the weekends after a healthy fat and a protein, okay, my body likes that a lot better. So, I mean, I just night and day differences. If that is the one thing we can take from this call for all the parents out there, is that starting your day with a healthy fat and protein is the way to go. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that or not.
Well said, ladies. I have nothing to add. It's all based on the science of insulin, and the two types of macronutrients that cause the least spike in insulin. Number one is fats, and number two is protein. You still have a little bit of an insulin spike with protein because 30% of it does turn into glucose through a fancy word called gluconeogenesis. Nothing to worry about out there, but that's just kind of some science there. But in reality, though, a good healthy fat or a good protein will not cause the insulin spike. If you eat something sugary, as you know, insulin spikes, clears the blood clears the sugar from the blood, causes your blood sugar to tank. And as it tanks, you become hypoglycemic. Low blood sugar makes you shake, give you headache, makes you fidgety, causes food cravings, and all the ADHD quote symptoms. It's a disaster that we medicate our kids before providing them nutrition over medication. It's a big pet peeve of ours. I'll stop there.
It's true. It's so important.
Yeah.
And someone actually asked a good question of what you do in a situation where 2 of 3 meals happen at school and the school lunch is garbage. So I'll give my point of view and then you guys could give your 2 cents. So my thing is what I always tell clients, first, focus on the meals that are happening at home. So if just breakfast and dinner are happening at home, focus on breakfast and dinner. If it's just breakfast happening at home, focus on breakfast. First, master the meal that you're in control of. Because sometimes, yes, you could stress out about how school lunch is really not good and not nutritious, and that's okay. Of course, we want to fix that. But first, what is happening in your home? What are you in control of that you can make a positive change about? So I love doing that, and then we could talk about, okay, now what can we do about school lunches? Is it worth getting involved with the school board to get more nutritious meals? Are they allowed to bring lunch? Things like that. So my thing is always do first what you're in control of.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Do you have anything to add to that? I mean, my initial thought is it goes back to, because so our kids are all able to bring their lunches, thankfully, to school. I feel like if that wasn't the case, I'd do my best to get involved in some way.
Right.
But I think it also goes back to just educating the kids. They're way smarter than we give them credit for, and kind of going back to like, what do we want to focus on? How do we build a meal? We want to include a healthy fat. We want to include a protein. We want to include a veggie and a fruit. And so maybe they can analyze what's being served at the school, and then we give them the tools to be able to choose what are the better options. I feel like our kids would like that a lot. It would be kind of like a fun project, but yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky when the schools aren't serving the greatest of foods. So, I mean, that would be my thing. Is just educate the kids on what are the best options from what they have, and then also try to get involved in any way that I could.
I think first principles, like you said, control what you can control. Second principle would be to control the food that your kids eat, in the sense that I would send them with a lunch. I think, look, I know it's difficult and it may be more expensive, maybe not, but at the end of the day, the food is the ultimate. We believe the food is the ultimate medicine. There's no better gift you can give your child than the education of what good food is, and you have to take the next steps.
Yeah.
You have to put in the work. Anything in life requires work, and if like I said, if you're just too busy and you're just going to let the school take care of your kids, they're going to take care of them in the cheapest way. but nobody cares about the health of you or your family as much as you or your family.
Yeah, well said.
Well said. Wow. And another question that's a segue that this would be perfect for you guys. How do you encourage your child to make healthy choices, or how do you bring food from home without them feeling different? Like, how do you get them not to feel, Mom, why do I have to eat this? Or Mom, why do I have to bring carrots and she could bring chips?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I don't know. I think I would, I don't know. That's a great question. I would just try to like embrace the weird, right? Teach them that like being different is kind of cool. I might need a couple like minutes to think about that. Can you think of anything either?
Again, it starts with the education.
Right.
Yeah.
Explaining to them why are you doing this. If they don't know why you're doing something, you got no chance.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest mistake, and Haley's amazing at explaining even the subjects that are a little bit touchy. She's very direct, and I've learned a lot from her by watching how she interacts, with the kids. And I've learned so much in the sense that kids really do understand and appreciate directness. And you need to take we'll step back one order. We need to know. If we don't know how we're going to teach our kids, so we need to remove the ignorance off ourselves. That would be a good first step, and the second step would be to educate. Again, education, and then they'll begin to understand, and then they'll actually take pride in what they do, and then maybe they'll be a leader, and their friends will want to be like them.
I think
It's
that's
so true.
well said. And the other thing too recently is we had a pediatrician, Dr. Elena, who's incredible. She's a naturopath, and she actually went to her daughter's school and brought the book and like read it.
That's so amazing.
So I feel like, if we have opportunities like that, like let's take, an hour out of our day if we can, and see if we can go to school and like, start to talk to the kids ourselves about this information.
It's true. And also, I think another main point to bring up is, if you make it exciting, as you guys do, then they're not going to feel like it's different, or they're left out almost, or different than other kids, because they're having an awesome lunch. It's delicious. It's almost like, wait, you guys need to try this, instead of like, oh, why do I have to eat this? No, this is awesome. It's delicious. Because there's so many fun ways to make a healthy breakfast for a kid, or a healthy snack for a kid, where even down to like a healthy Nutella, so it's a fun way to make eating healthy fun, so that they don't have to feel that it's something that they shouldn't want to do. They should want to do it,
Yeah. Well, and to that point, she said that she was blown away. She had so much fun, and she was blown away by how receptive the kids were to that information. They just ate it up.
Right.
Yeah. It just was really cool to hear.
That's so amazing. Wow. And then someone asked for suggestions for a vegan breakfast. The one that's off the top of my head is coconut yogurt, such as Cocoa June or one like that with berries. That's a great one, because that's a fatty acid. So it's going to keep their energy levels stable. And then you get the berries as the antioxidants and with the nutrients. And you could add seeds or nuts on top. So I think that's a great vegan breakfast.
Fantastic.
Yeah, maybe like I love that one. Speaking along the lines of coconut, maybe like an oatmeal when you use some like good coconut milk, which has a lot of that healthy fat in it, and then to your point, Sarah, add some nuts on top of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Walnuts, macadamia nuts.
Sure.
We espouse macadamia nuts because of the close to omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, 1-to-1. It's probably got the best omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. So good quality raw macadamia nuts would be fantastic.
Pecans,
walnuts, they're all good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Or even, there's so many different options. It's true. Because even you could do a slice of healthy bread, or whether it's Ezekiel or sourdough, or there's a bunch of brands out there with you could do that with nut butter or sunflower
avocado
butter
on top.
and berries. Exactly.
You said you made a really good tahini bread recipe, or you have a good recipe.
Oh yes, it was
that
tahini
bread.
recipe.
Yeah.
It's great, a nut and seed bread. It's delicious, grain free. So there's so many options out there. There really are.
Yeah, put some avocado on there, some salt or some fun spice.
Delicious.
You know, and that's the other thing that just came to mind is have them, like, you know, toast the bread, have them spread the avocado, because the other thing we found is that the more they're involved in packing their breakfast, or I mean making their breakfast, packing their lunch, the more likely they are to eat it. I mean, like the other day we did a themed lunch. I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but we did everything that started with peas. So we're lucky in that my daughter, she doesn't have a nut-free school or classroom. Mm-hmm. So we did like pistachios, that little turkey pepperoni, peppers. We did, what else did we do? But it was all snap peas. It was just all peas. But anyways, the more you make it fun, the more you involve them. She came home, there was nothing left in her lunch.
Wow, that's amazing.
The most beautiful thing when you see.
I love that point because it's so true. Get them in the kitchen. Get them involved in the kitchen from young. And that's how they could also make it fun. And that's how they'll want to eat it. So if on Sunday they make those banana pancakes, bananas, eggs, cinnamon, they could add a little dark chocolate or a little blueberries. And they see it's fun to make also, and it's fun to eat. So I love that idea, whether it's for lunch or snacks in school or desserts even. Get them in the kitchen, get them involved. I love that.
Yeah.
Again, it takes time and work. The problem is we seem to be too busy on our screens and our own things that you've got to put in the effort. This is how life works, proof of work, right?
That's true.
You've got to work if you want results.
That's very true. Someone asked the question, how can physicians refer to dietitians when insurance won't pay?
Ooh.
So that's a good one for a physician.
I'm getting what's the exact question? I'm sorry.
How can physicians refer to dietitians when insurance won't pay? How can physicians help?
That's, this, do your own research. Again, it's not medical advice. So, all the disclaimers, right? So here's the deal. The real reality is the dietitians are the experts, and it's a shame at how little we know about nutrition. It's quite pathetic. We get on average about 1 to 2 hours of nutrition, at least when I went through medical school, and that's changing. Thank God. But I know I can speak for myself. I got maybe 2 hours, and that was an elective that I had to choose. So it was always a drug and a surgery. So they always would say patients are unable to do behavioral modification, which includes, eating well, sleeping well, moving well. Those are all considered, that's just a waste of time. Nobody does it. That's exactly how I went through the medical system in residency and training. So with the insurance, that's outside my pay grade. It depends on your insurance. It depends on where you live. So many different factors. You'd have to, there's just too many different variables. But going to a good dietitian, paying out of pocket is the best. $500, whatever, 100, 200, 300, 400, whatever that may cost, is the best amount of money you can spend, because you're teaching yourself and your family how to give them the best medicine. There is nothing more potent than food. Food causes biochemical reactions to occur in our body 24/7. We take a medicine maybe once a week, once a day, but that's only at one time. When we eat food and drink, it alters our body. It's the most important education that anyone can have.
That's amazing, and I love hearing that from a doctor.
Yeah.
Great. And then someone else, the same person asked, how can physicians, I guess, or dietitians help patients with diet with the supreme time crunch of a busy hospital or office schedule?
Yeah, I have this problem all the time. Actually, I used to see a ton of patients, and I've actually reduced them in order to, I started to feel like I was hurting patients. You felt like you had to move through so many patients. This is a problem nationwide. It's a broken system, unfortunately. What you would have to do is take control of the conversation and ask your physician, your dietitian, to take a few minutes. And if they don't, you would have to seek another one. Unfortunately, you just have to search for it. I mean, typically a functional medicine doctors tend to be more thorough with regards to educating on food and spirituality and these things. We call them functional doctors. But the problem with the issue with functional doctors, the challenge, is they don't usually take insurance. So that's an issue. Here's the deal. Something as important as your health, there's nothing more important. I mean, you're talking about a refrigerator or a car, or it's non-comparable. You just got to get used to paying out of your pocket.
And I like what you said too, is shop around, right? Yeah. We have that power. And so sure. I love it. Like, I've heard you say it before, where if you're asking your physician and they're just trying to slap a medicine on you, sure. You deserve more. Ask questions. Why am I being put on this medicine? Is there anything I can do, naturally or from a behavior modification standpoint instead of being on this medicine? And if they're shying away from those answers, I mean, you probably need to find somebody else, because they're not a lot, but they are out there. They are out there.
It's so true. Wow, I love that. It's so true. Food is really the ultimate medicine. Sure. As you said before.
Oh, as Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, actually.
Yes.
Food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be food. Something like that. So let food be thy medicine. And you can correct me there in the comments if that's right, but it's something along those lines.
So true. Another question we have is, at what age do you think you could begin educating your child on healthy eating? And I would say as early as possible, honestly, as early as they can understand it. Mm-hmm. What would you say?
Same thing. When we started writing the book, my daughter was 2, and she, they were right there along with us, helping us with the illustration ideas and just kind of like, what superpower does this food give us? And she understood it. I mean, to a certain degree, right? And so I echo exactly what you're saying. As soon as possible, as early as possible. They're way smarter than we give them credit for.
She would eat an avocado, get off her stool, and jump and say, "Look how high I'm jumping."
Yeah, I love that.
It was too.
And then they would eat meat and they would run around.
They'd time themselves.
They'd like stop clock. Yeah. They got distracted. It took them 2 hours to eat instead of 10 minutes. But so again, those are some of the 2 hours is exaggeration, but it does take a little bit longer. But again, you get what you put in.
Right. Yeah. Or you can get the 2 hours of the child nagging that they don't want to finish their plate.
Right.
So which one would you prefer? And I love, Haley, that you keep stressing, give the child credit. They can understand, and we have to treat them as adults. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would add to that, yes, you treat them as an adult, but at the same time too, you are the adult, just as you would prevent them from putting their hand in the fire.
Yeah.
You have to give them the eggs, and you have to tell them sometimes they may be a little pushy, but there's a fine balance. But at the end of the day, as you are the parent, and you should know better. That's a fine line. So sometimes, that's something I'm constantly working. Eat your eggs before this or whatnot, and there's a fine balance there.
And also being the role model, that's the biggest thing.
100%. That's a good point.
Your kids watch you, and they're watching 100%. What you're eating. If you're eating a bag of candy,
100%.
They're going to see that, and they're going to want to replicate that. Whereas if you make it delicious and you show them that it's delicious to eat healthy, they're going to say, could I have a bite,
100%.
Yeah. That's so well said, Sarah. Yeah.
Role model is probably the most important thing. We have to model. They're watching us.
Role model and get them in the kitchen as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that goes with things other than not only food. It goes with screen time. If someone sees their parents scrolling on Instagram all night, or on the phone all night, or texting, or watching shows, or not sleeping enough, I'm saying all these things also factor in. Same thing with movement. If they see their parents exercising or going for a walk or making movement fun even, they're going to want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. As Piaget said, the French, I butchered his name, but basically kids learn by observation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Someone asked, what were you saying?
That's their primary mode of learning is observation.
It's true.
Especially young. Yeah, as John Piaget said in his famous, all his children's works. Yeah. And
it's true with us adults also, meaning if someone's teaching you, it's like, are they practicing what they're preaching? Because then you'll want to listen to them.
Oh, yeah.
If you see someone not practicing what they're preaching, it's like, wait, why would I listen if they don't even do that themselves?
Yeah, she keeps me straight. Thank God for her. I'll be off the rails. I'm always off the rails. She brings me back on.
I love you off the rails, babe.
And then someone asked, what about natural sweeteners for kids? there's a lot of different options, such as you could sweeten something with dates. You could sweeten something with honey, even it has a lot of benefits as well. You could sweeten something with applesauce or apple butter they have, or any sort of fruit puree. With some examples that you guys have.
Yeah, so I think first it would be the natural sugar. So these are the fruits. There's an amazing page that we follow. Her name is Panos Eats, Ira, and she has some amazing recipes, and they're mostly sweetened naturally. So for example, the other day we just made banana apple muffins. Those are the only sweets in there. And then there was, you know, eggs and coconut oil. I think we used almond flour. They were incredible. So, you know, sweetening things as naturally as possible first. And then the other thing we do is we do like honey and maple syrup, just because they are considered added sugars, but at least they come with some health benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
they're not empty calories.
Exactly.
Sure. Coconut
and
sugar will be able to have some minerals in it.
Yeah.
And so our rule of thumb is like bake at home when you can, because you can control all the ingredients. You can put in the grass-fed butters, the pasture-raised eggs.
True.
You know, you can use like an almond flour or oat flour instead of, you know, like a white flour. And then I feel like so many recipes call for way more sugar than what you need. So in general,
100%.
you can cut the sugar in half and use like honey or maple syrup. It tastes just as good.
Yeah, or even with, exactly as you said, you have to also learn how to be flexible with certain recipes, and you don't have to listen to it to 100%. You know, if it says sugar, you could put coconut sugar, or if it's, I always switch applesauce for certain things, or so you could really always, and if you're not familiar with it, you could Google what's a good replacement instead of sugar, what's a good replacement instead of something else, you know? So it's all about trial and error. Sometimes you'll get it, and sometimes it'll come out horrible, but you'll learn, you know? So I love trying out different swaps.
So do we. I think that's a great idea, because sugar is scary, and there's so many, there's over like 200 different names for sugars. A lot of these like low calorie sweeteners that are marketed, they haven't even been tested in children. And it's like, you know, until there's more research, or maybe never, I don't want to put that into their bodies, or, you know, as minimal as possible. So we bake at home as much as possible, and we just don't bring it into the house. So like when you're here, if you're hungry, you know, you're hungry enough, you're going to go to the fridge and get like a fruit or veggie, and that's what you're going to snack
Exactly. It's funny. My friend was just telling me yesterday that she used to buy like little chocolates, like Twix and Snickers and the mini ones, and she realized that she kept eating them. So she decided one day, like, let me see if I don't buy them, like what would happen. And she realized she didn't even care not to have them. She just, because she had them in her house, she was having them. So it's so true. It's what's in your pantry. That's what you're going to when you're hungry, or you have a sweet tooth or something. So if you have something good in there, then you'll go towards that the next time you have that urge.
We just had this conversation at dinner last night with the girls.
Nice.
Two things. Environment will always overcome willpower. So if you can optimize your environment, you will always be better off than trying to willpower or white knuckle it. That's backed by infinite science, and there's tons of art. The second thing is, when you train or get your kids or family accustomed to a dessert with a certain amount of sugar, you begin to recalibrate your taste buds. And what ends up happening is you don't need that much. And if you do take something, let's say you go to a friend's house, or you go to someone else's house and you take, this taste is really too sweet. So what happens is you recalibrate your taste buds. So I would say first, optimize, like you said, optimize the environment. And number two would be protect your taste buds.
That's so true. And I see it especially like with myself, even with dark chocolate. If I have a piece of milk chocolate now, I can't even enjoy it because it's just too sweet for me. So it's so true that it's funny, because as a kid, it's like, you don't think you would want dark chocolate, but even for a kid, if they try it and they get accustomed to something like that, the taste buds will adapt to it. And it's so true with everything sweet, that it's so important. If you adapt their taste buds, they're not going to crave those sweets anymore. And same thing as you said, Haley, before. We want to start our day with a wholesome breakfast, because if we start it with a sugary breakfast, all day we're going to be craving more sugar. And I see that even with myself, savory versus sweet breakfast. Like sometimes even if I have not such a sweet breakfast, but a more sweet versus savory breakfast, I see more of an urge to have more sweet things, as opposed to when I have a savory breakfast of, let's say, avocado toast and a poached egg, less of the urge is there later on.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I also, going back to the taste buds, we see it firsthand with our 10-month-old. I mean,
Wow.
she will eat like mackerel and olives, and she'll actually like eat that over a fruit sometimes.
That's crazy.
She loves meat and fish, and because her taste buds haven't been, you know, for lack of a better, polluted, thank you, by all this processed foods out there. And so, yeah, what happens is we get so accustomed to that and these like scientifically engineered sweet flavors that are like really designed to get us more addicted to them, to make us not feel full and eat more. If we can stay away from that and just this natural food, number one, we take back our taste buds. And number two, we can appreciate, you know, how yummy a strawberry is, or
it's so true,
how good it tastes. And so it's just funny because we just see it with a baby before, you know, she's been exposed to processed foods.
That's amazing. Or even I tell clients, like when they're first starting to feed their infants, let's say at 6 months, start with the lower sweet foods, because if you start with the sweet fruits and everything, they're gonna not like the peas the next day, or they're not gonna like the vegetable. But if you start with a vegetable that's less sugary and then go into the sweet, they'll like both, you know?
Yeah, she definitely appreciates it all.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then someone also suggested switching up their utensils also makes it fun when they're not so into it. And I love that. They gave the example of a toothpick. So it's so true. If your child's not eating something, first of all, I want to address also labeling. Someone should never label their child as a picky eater, because once you label your child, it's going to get that child to act that way, but also it's going to get you to go towards them and act towards them as if they're that picky child. And it's going to change decisions that you make to give your children the food they deserve. So very, very important is not to label them, because if you don't label them, you're not putting them in a box of, oh, they're picky. No. If you look at them as open-minded, then you'll continue to be open-minded towards them and give them the choices, the various choices. So if they don't like something one day, instead of saying, oh, they're picky, no, say, okay, they didn't want it today. I'll try it again tomorrow in a different form, or I'll try it again tomorrow, the same form with a different touch. For example, they didn't like eggs, okay, so maybe make it in star shapes, or put a toothpick in it, or make it fun, scramble it differently, or something like that, you know?
Well said.
Yeah, agreed.
It's so important.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm just thinking of too, there's a company called Constructive Eating.
Yes, I follow them on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, they do. It's so cute what they do. Or they just have like the construction like zone is the play. Then they have the different utensils. One's a pusher. One's, you know, you just push in certain areas. Like you said, just making it fun, and which increases the exposure to the foods and keeping it light. So I think they're doing some really cool things.
I love that. It is true. And because if you make it fun for them, again, that's the highlight. If you make it fun for them, then they're going to want to eat it.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we try to also stress eating together. I know it seems kind of small, but if you look at a lot of the greats like Michelle Obama, many others have claimed a lot of their success was sitting around the dinner table,
Sarah Blakely. She wrote about that.
Some of these other, and many more, would sit around the table and they would have some of the best conversation. And I mean, it's, you know, this obvious. This will also increase with your connectivity, which is another core pillar to wellness.
And I think the kids see it. Like, I think our little one is such a good eater because she has so many good models around her. She just naturally knows.
That's amazing.
I mean, she's such a good eater. It's awesome.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's also about not being disturbed while you're eating, not watching a show while they're eating.
Sure,
Focus on the eating or
no
talking around the table. Exactly.
Yeah,
no
playing
time, no playing, no coloring.
Yeah.
No, when you're eating,
Yeah.
you're eating.
Yeah.
And also sitting down at the table is so important because it's not such a given with some people. You don't want them to be running around. You don't want them to be playing. You don't want them. No, they're sitting at the table and they're eating.
Yes.
Conversation only.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard rule. That's a really hard rule in our house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true. And then someone asked, so is it, meaning can you eat sweet breakfast? And what about oatmeal? That's usually sweet. I'll give from my suggestion is there's nothing wrong with sweet in the morning if you're doing it right, you know? So if it's natural. So for example, if you're having oatmeal with berries and nut butter, that's great. You want to always add a protein with it. So with the oatmeal, I would add some nuts or I would add some other protein. So it could be partnered with the healthy fats and the carbohydrates instead of just the carbohydrates. Or if you're having toast, put some avocado and egg, or put some almond butter and berries. So always pair your carbohydrate with a protein or fatty acid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that from a science perspective, it just slows down that sugar or prevents that sugar.
Exactly.
So that healthy fat. So.
And sometimes you don't want the savory in the morning, you know?
Yeah.
It's true. Or even chia pudding is a good one.
Sure.
A healthy chocolate pudding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're not necessarily a kid, you could skip breakfast altogether and continue intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
That works too for some people.
Yeah, not for a kid.
No, I said if you're not a kid.
Definitely not for a kid. Everyone's bodies reacts differently to that one. Any other topics you'd like to discuss or anyone else have questions?
I mean, I know we were going to talk about like lunch. I think we save it for another live. I mean, we're already over 45 minutes in. I think this was a great discussion. We'd love any other questions if anyone has them. Appreciate all the participation on the comments and stuff.
Yes, amazing.
But I'd love to do another one, and we've kind of spent a lot of time on breakfast. We could dive into lunches and how to build a healthy lunch and just, suggestions for what to pack and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So someone also asked for snack ideas. Certain snack ideas could be those Trader Joe's like they have those little olive packets. That's a great one for kids. Let's say with some organic cheese, if they could tolerate it, or maybe apple with nut butter or apple and some butter if they can't bring the nut butter to school. Even a Greek yogurt could be a good snack with berries, or coconut yogurt if they can't tolerate dairy. Any snack ideas on your end?
Yeah. We try to keep it as like whole food based as possible. And I'm just thinking, like during the day. So if my kids get up super early in the morning, they're like, "Mama, we're hungry and we haven't made breakfast yet." My go-to is like nuts usually. Right. And, they have their little bowl and they'll have their nuts in it. Sometimes we'll build like a fun little trail mix and put some dark chocolate chips in there as well. Like
delicious.
Some dried fruit, lots of nuts. So that's always fun and easy and, quite whole. I love the yogurt with like a little bit of honey. They've been kind of on that kick lately. And then the other is just like, we try to focus on like the 3 meals a day and in between, not snacking too much so that it disrupts these meals, especially like dinner and breakfast. And so we just stock the fridge full with veggies and fruit, and that's pretty much their choice. They're hungry, they're going there to the fridge. They have their own little cutting knives. They can get out a bell pepper and slice it up and then eat it. And so just keeping it, at least here, we just kind of keep it as whole as possible. And if they're hungry enough, they're going to go and eat the snap peas or the cucumbers.
That's amazing. I love that.
It's our job to set up their environment to win.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't do that, they have no chance. I mean, if there's chips and, and Twix and all these Coke, no kid will prefer a blueberry over a Twix. It's just not, you can't expect them to, nor should we expect them to. So we have to provide that environment for them. And I think, and just one clarification with the yogurt, of course, this is plain yogurt. It's not, Greek
No,
yogurt.
there's so many kids
Great.
yogurts out there with colorings in it and
Sure.
corn syrups in there. It's true. Plain yogurt, and if you have to sweeten it yourself,
Sure.
you sweeten it yourself with some honey or
The full fat yogurt
Yes,
too.
full
yes.
Not low
Full
fat.
fat. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Grass
another one.
fed,
You want to
if you
get
can
a food as close to nature as it could be, and yogurt was found in its full fat form. So the cream, the fat is meant to be there, and it really is good for brain development and growth of the child. So it's very important. You're right. Good point. Full fat yogurt, and if you can, from grass-fed organic sources.
Sure.
So
Someone,
again,
yeah.
I'm sorry, just with the grass fed again, I want to, like, as much as possible, kind of dispel this uppity idea, like grass fed, oh, look how uppity you are. Or, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive again, but again, I don't see why we can't demand what we deserve. Grass fed just simply means, all it means is that the animal ate what God intended. That's all. It's not some, Whole Foods, and I have my Lexus and I have my Louis Vuitton. It's not anything about that. It's like, I want grass fed because that's what the animal ate. And it's really important because you are what the animal ate.
Exactly. You're eating what the animal's eating. So true.
Right.
Yeah.
They're pumped with hormones, or if they were raised conventionally. I mean, it's
corn and soy.
The craziest thing I see is in a pasture-raised egg. If you crack a pasture-raised egg,
night and day
yolk is a deep orange.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's right.
if you
That's right.
crack a regular egg, it's light yellow. So
And it's
you
more,
could see the more omega-3 and the more beta-carotene in the yolk. You actually see the nutrients.
Yeah.
and the lutein and zeaxanthin,
Yes.
zeaxanthin, all these, but which are all antioxidants, which are extremely important for many different reasons. But it's critical because these, if the animal was mistreated, and again, when you say something is grass-fed, you are assuring that the animal is being treated correctly. I just can't understand, like, when someone goes in and says grass-fed, they put their nose up, or people, I don't understand it. It blows my mind. Yes, it's more expensive, but at the end of the day, grass-fed means you are getting it the way God intended, or nature intended,
Exactly.
So, and that's going to be best for our bodies.
The absolute best for our bodies, because again, like an unnatural diet, corn and soy and wheat causes inflammation in their bodies and negativity right onto us. And so I think you said it so well. It's what we deserve. It's not uppity. It's just demanding what is natural.
Just go check out Fed Up. Check out these things about the CAFOs, the crowded areas where they keep these cows in pens where they're like, I mean, they can't even move, and they don't see sunlight, and they're in their own vomit and stool, and they're just stressed out of their minds. Could you imagine being in a coffin or something like that, and you were made to they just give you just enough, to fatten you up, and then they slaughter you, and then you eat all of that stress hormones, all that. I mean, God knows what else we do, and then the soy burger isn't much better either. But at the end of the day, you got to do it. It is what it is.
And someone asked if we only serve a healthy fat and protein in a meal, is that okay, or should we aim to include both fruits and vegetables as well?
Good question. So I think there's so many vitamins, especially in veggies, the leafy greens, eat the rainbow veggies, and even fruit too. So, I would also try to include that. You don't have to go crazy on the fruit. There's no sugar in veggies. So as much as you can include veggies for lunches, I try to do like at least 2 different vegetables in their lunch. I don't serve a lot, just a little bit of 2 different kinds or so. And the fruit too. Like a small apple, a handful of berries. I think there's so many antioxidants and nutrients and, great stuff that comes from that. So sure, I think
exactly.
Get it in, cool. And if you can, and it's just a healthy fat and protein for the morning, that's okay. Hopefully they're getting it in their lunch or
exactly, or even a snack. That's what I was going to say. If you can't get it in the meal, try to at least get it in as the snack and the next meal, of course. And I always say, try to make them colorful meals. Try to have at least 3 colors in each meal. Makes it fun to look at, and each vitamin and mineral has different. Each color, vegetable and fruit, have different vitamins and minerals. So if you have 3 different colors, you know that you're having an assortment of different vitamins and minerals.
And you're feeding your gut microbiome, right?
Exactly.
That study is showing that all you need is like 30 different varieties a week, and you're like building this amazing gut microbiome. And so the more you can vary it, and you do that a lot through fruits and veggies, and nuts
True.
and stuff. So,
And
yeah.
then someone also asked how to remove TV or toys from the table. My quick say would be give them attention, meaning if you're going to take that away, make sure to replace it with meaningful talk, or show them that you're listening, and show them that you're there to pay attention. Because I think if they see a parent there and willing to listen to them and talk to them about their day, or just listen to what they want to say, or if they want to be goofy, but show them that you're really there, I think it'll be easier to remove the toys and the TV. And again, it might be hard in the beginning, but once it's out of the habit, that's it. So at least know that it might be hard in the beginning, but it gets easier.
I agree.
I love your PR way. For me, I just say tough luck. I mean, if they're not listening, I try that at first. And if they get a little bit of resistance, I just basically turn the TV off. If they don't move the toy, I'll remove it personally. And then if they don't want to talk or they're upset, we just sit and eat. But no one's gonna, they will eventually, learn.
Yeah.
Some days are better than others, but for the most part, it's pretty good. But
Yeah.
it's you be a parent because you are the parent.
Yeah.
Right.
They need to see an example, and you need to be an example. I mean, again, within reason.
I think too, like, just this is something, it's in your toolbox if you have to bring it out when you can. An idea would be reading a book. I mean, I don't know, the kids love like just listening to stories. And so if it's just one of those days where it's just like, I just need them to eat, and I do have to throw an element of distraction in, unfortunately, I find that sometimes just sitting there and reading a book while they
True.
eat could be a tool. But to Tark's point, it's like not the norm. And it's just kind of like laying down those hard lines, like right up front. This is what it is.
Or you can tell them a story even.
Well, you got to have bright lines at the end of the day, right? There's certain things that are non-negotiable. And sometimes they don't, let's face it. I mean, thank God that for the most part, our kids are very, very cooperative in that aspect. They may get up and down and jump and run. But at the end of the day, you've got to set the bright lines and you've got to follow through. And then eventually they'll get it. They may not be happy one day, but at the end of the day, that's
exactly. And that's what a parent's there for.
Exactly.
Next question, how to reframe their taste buds if they already spit something out often, for example, fish. My take on it would be, it takes a child to like something, it could take them 15 tries. So if they spit out fish 4 or 5 times, still give it to them, whether it's in the same form, different form, whether it's on as the main dish or just the side of the dish. You could start with it being just on the side. Then if they take 1 bite, be happy with that. Don't say, oh, why did they take 2? So I think it's gradual, slowly, and patience, not quitting. If they, on the 8th try, they might not like it, but keep going. And I think that's key. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. More exposure, changing it up. Like you said, just putting a little bit on their plate, maybe try different spices, maybe give them something to dip it in. A different utensil. I love that suggestion earlier.
Or maybe in a different form, a burger, maybe a fish burger instead.
Yeah. With the other day, it's just like, I think the kids were just like, I'm done with eggs. So we did hard-boiled eggs, and we did these little bowls with different spices in them. And it's like they could eat their hard-boiled egg, and then they could dip it into some different spices. And it was like, we're back with eggs again. It was like a little change.
So funny.
So, and then also I think like no pressure. Right? Like you just are kind of like there's another account, Big Little Feelings, and they do it really well, where it's just like you put it on the plate and then you just kind of like no pressure, you don't look at it, you don't talk about it, they eat it, you kind of want to like jump up and down, but you're like, I'm not saying anything.
Right. Instead of saying you have to finish that or you have to have that, it takes off the pressure. That's such a key point.
Yeah.
I think she talks a lot about also about praising them for eating.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So important. You gotta praise. And then what do you think about adding salts to kids' food? Someone asked.
Yeah. We're big fans of salt.
Depends on the kind of salt, right?
What's that?
Depending on the kind of salt.
Yeah, depending on the kind of salt. And then also keep in mind, the more whole foods you eat, we actually need salt. We get a lot of it in processed foods, which is why there's all those recommendations and the limit set and all this, like, there's like the stigma, I think, with salt being so bad. But the reality is, and you could probably talk about this a lot more too, we need salt. We take electrolytes that have salt in them. We salt up our food just because we're not eating the processed foods that contain it all. And like we're both doing keto right now. We eat the heck out of salt. Like if I don't get enough salt, I can tell, like I'll start to get like a headache, and I'm like, I need to drink some water and I need some salt.
Well, first off, salt is an essential nutrient. You
Yeah.
die without it. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of misinformation out there. If you, like Haley just said elegantly, that if you don't eat processed foods and you can salt to taste and you won't have any problems. We're very good at getting rid of salt. A normal, healthy person gets rid of the extra salt. So that's not an issue. And actually, if you don't get enough salt, you can actually develop insulin resistance. So, there's some real issues here. And there's a great book called The Salt Fix by James D. Nicantonio. James D. Nicantonio, you can follow him. He has some really good writing on salt. And he's good writing on a lot of things. As a matter of fact, we follow him. We're very appreciative for his work. But yeah, salt is essential. Don't be afraid of salt as long as you're not consuming a lot of processed food. Do remember the reason they put a lot of salt in processed foods, because they strip the fiber and they strip away the fat. Fiber and fat is what give food. Fiber spoils. Fat gives food taste. So you take those two out. You need to give taste back, so you put sugar and salt. That's why there's so much sugar and salt. It also causes you to drink more acid, sugary beverages. It's just a really vicious cycle that really messes us up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So important. And the type of salt, meaning you want, let's say, pink Himalayan salt, or salt with as many minerals. Like I know there's a brand, Redmond's Real Salt, that has so many different minerals in it, where that's actually good. So it's not just the refined white salt. That's what we want to stay away from, because that's just like white flour. It strips the nutrients out and the minerals out. Whereas if you have a salt that keeps all of that, then it's actually good for you.
Agreed.
Well said. Thank you.
And then someone said, if you don't have it in the house, they will be grabbing it every chance they get. Don't we need to normalize all foods? So my say to that would be, again, if you make it fun, not to not have cookies in the house, have homemade healthy baked cookies, or not to have no junk in the house, but find the healthier brands. For example, instead of M&Ms, there's those Unreal brand that has ones without coloring. Okay, yes, they have certain sweeteners in it, but they're better than M&Ms, And there's different options for a more natural way. So if you don't want to have Nutella in the house, and you could find the healthy Nutella, whether it's the Fine and Raw brand or a different brand out there. So there's different ways to get that fix for the kid, where they won't run to someone else's house, because they have the healthier versions in their own house, and they don't even have to realize it's the healthier version.
Yep, couldn't agree more. We love the Unreal brand. We do those M&Ms. And then I just had something else I was thinking of too. I feel like there's so many really cool small companies that are starting up, and they're just like, doing the opposite of big food. They're really valuing our health. They're choosing quality ingredients. They're using, natural sweeteners. And it's really cool to see. And so as much as we can, we're supporting those brands.
It's so important.
Yeah, I think you were going to say something too.
I think, as she was saying, but the reality of the situation is education and giving these alternatives. And at the end of the day, they're gonna go and they're going to experiment. They're going to try these things, and our hope is that we keep our relationship is good enough with them where they can come back and say, Dad, I went over there and they had some Reese's and I tried it and it seemed like it was pretty sweet and I really liked it. Can you tell me about it? I think they're going to do these things, and we've got to accept that. But I think the key is to know our kids well, to spend time with them, and give them a safe place to come home and say, hey, I did this, Dad. That's my dream, that I have an open channel of communication where they don't feel shy or they have to hide. If they're feeling that they have to hide, oh my God, all we eat is fruit and vegetables, oh my God.
Right.
And then it's like they're gonna hide it, and then that's not what you want. So it's as I think Socrates said, that the hardest job on the planet is parenting.
And I think you also have to be okay with it in moderation. If on a holiday or a friend gives it out, or they can have that regular lollipop, they could have that regular Snickers. It's all about what they're doing majority of the time. That's most important.
Which
I-
goes to
did.
your point, like,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of protect the house, right? What we control, we can control with meals at the home. And yeah, if they get exposed to that outside, it's,
Well, they had a few
you know, it's not
pieces.
the end of the world.
They had a few pieces of Halloween candy. We were able to control it, even though it
Right.
was for Twitch. And then also they had a few pieces of candy. They got to
But what's fascinating is like, even when we did a Halloween and they went around, they got these, you know, a huge bag of candy. They like each had a couple pieces and they're like,
We're done.
that's it. That's all I want. You know, like, let's have the Switch Witch come. So it's like, there wasn't a lot of pressure. It was like, don't eat that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
naturally, they
Exactly.
just, I think their taste buds just appreciate real food. And they're
That's
like,
true.
I'll have a little bit of this and that's it. That's all I need.
It's true. And another healthy treat that I actually made this weekend was dark chocolate sun butter cups. And you could do that with any nut butter or any, if you want to put jelly in there as well. So it's always a good idea to have some healthy treats on hand, just so when they do have a sweet tooth or you want to give them a treat even,
Yeah.
you could go give them that healthier version of the treat.
Yeah. Yep. We, like you said, we like the Unreal brand. We love Hue brand. And
Oh,
we do
love
a lot
Hue
of
brand.
baking at home. I mean, we do. The kids just made banana muffins this morning, and they put like chocolate chips on some and coconuts on some. I think Ken's might be watching still. She's an incredible baker. She's 12 and she loves to bake, and so we bake a lot at home too. It's not like we can't have any sweets.
Right.
We're choosing to.
And one small thing is, as we are really concerned about label teaching, and there's a lot of good references that you can follow Haley on, and you know, My Superhero Foods, and that what if you can learn how to decipher the ingredients, you can then start to understand what is a good substitute, because you have no chance, because what kills me are these brands that look healthy,
Yes.
but they're no better than M&Ms. I mean, maybe they put some broccoli in the last ingredient. I mean, so the point I'm trying to say, it's really
And then they load the front of the box with broccoli. It's like,
Yes.
it has like,
Because actually the labeling doesn't have to be meaning it doesn't have to be, it could say all natural, it could say all
sure.
different claims on the front
Sure.
and be none of that on the back. So it's
Yeah.
very important to educate yourself on
Sure.
reading the nutrition
oh my
label
gosh,
and knowing
we
that
need to be taught
the
in
ingredients
school.
go from most abundant to least abundant and
Mhm.
things like that. And you always want to
Yeah.
be able to pronounce your ingredients.
Sure. Exactly. She said we believe it should be taught in school.
Right.
And and that's one of our hopes, that we can get this curriculum into school, because it's one of the most important skills you can learn.
Right. And then my mom actually asked, what about going to grandma's house? Can they get an unhealthy treat?
You know, I've heard this said a couple of times now. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's different approaches. I'm pretty protective on what they put in their body, just because, again, I'm the parent, and it's my job to protect them. There's a lot of like scary, awful stuff in ingredients. And yeah, a lot of that stuff wasn't really taught to our parents. But a couple times now I've heard people giving their parents this book. It's called Sugar Proof. It's an
It's a
incredible
great book.
And they're like, read this and maybe then you can understand like why in our house this is how we do the things we do. And it's like the light bulb goes off. So they kind of like understand like, wow, this is kind of scary. So I don't know, grandma's, I don't know what you
I think it depends.
I'm like
Again,
pretty-
in moderation.
strict.
So the grandma can give them a treat, but if they're staying by grandma a whole summer, or they say, then you have to make some adaptation. You know, it can't just be
That's
grandma's
fair.
house the whole summer.
Mm-hmm. I think
Again,
that's
majority
really
of the
well
time.
said.
That's
Yeah,
what it comes
one
down
day.
I
Sure.
turned to her and I asked, "Is that okay if it's okay with your mom?"
to.
She keeps us in line, so it's nice you have some, you
But-
gotta have bright minds.
Yeah, you do. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, you're going over to grandma's for dinner and they make a apple pie or cake. Yes. You know,
Exactly.
it's those wonderful like experiences that don't happen that often. Yes.
So true. Hey, great. This was an amazing live, guys.
This was
So,
fun.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Any last minute questions from the crowd? From you guys?
I guess just one more plug at our book, maybe.
Yes, please.
My Superhero Foods. And yeah, we're just all about, like Tarek said it well at the beginning, these kids deserve to know this information. Why are we waiting until we're in our 40s? And so we learned the importance of real foods, nutrition, sleep, movement. Let's give our kids this information now and just really set them up for success. And so, yeah, check out the book. And
I have just one thing. Yeah. With just one, again, last thing about the book, it's unique in the sense that it is written in a way that's not just eat apples because they're juicy, or eat oranges because there's vitamin C in there. What really just, in our opinion, distinguished this book. I mean, I don't know of any other book out there. And if in the comments or anyone who's, please send me a book or a copy or something that's similar. I haven't seen anything like it in its depth. We believe it's a nice. You throw out words like antioxidants and MCT, right. And these type of things, breastfed and eat fruits and seeds. And these are extremely important concepts that are further expounded on the website, which is full of free information, free ebook, free stuff. There will always be the highest quality information on that website to the best of our ability, and that will always be free. 98% of it is, 99% is. So I mean, it's a great gift you could give for the Christmas holiday. I just feel that would be the single best gift you could give, a gift of education to a family.
That's so true, man. So true. And someone asked for the book of the grandparents. So the Sugar Proof was the other book.
Oh yeah. It's right behind it. Right. Right there, babe.
Great book.
Yeah, this is a good one too.
And if you could put in the show notes or
we can include it in the comments.
Yeah. Amazing.
And then maybe show the salt fix one too that we referenced.
Salt fix.
This is another good one.
Yeah.
Talks about the benefits.
I love how they're all accessible in your library behind.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much, and I hope everyone found this educational and took something from it, and hopefully we could all continue to educate those around us for the better.
Well said. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks for all those that listened and stayed the whole way.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.